I've done a pretty fair amount of winter camping over the years. And one major issue that I always seem to be battling is condensation. The condensation in here right now is unbelievable. The walls are completely damp, the window frames are dripping, the windows are covered in water, the vent here is dripping. It's very, very wet in here right now. Now, whether you're in a tent, a truck topper, a van, a truck camper, an RV, you name it, condensation and winter camping unfortunately just go hand in hand. There's really no escaping it. Things like cooking, running a heater, your own body heat, these are all things that when mixed with the cold temperatures of winter camping are obviously gonna lead to condensation. Now, there are things that you can do to help minimize the amount of condensation that you're experiencing or mitigate some of the adverse effects, but at the end of the day, there's gonna be condensation. It's really unavoidable. One issue that's particularly problematic in things like truck campers, trailers, RVs, I would imagine it's the same in camper vans, is mold and mildew. All of the mold that's on the face of the cabinets up here. Now, we all know that condensation and moisture can lead to mold and mildew buildup. And these are issues that if left unchecked and unmaintained, these are things that can truly ruin your camper. Unfortunately, a lot of the time you don't really see the mold until it's too late.
I have no words, guys. I'm just glad that I'm wearing a mask now.
And today I'm gonna show you a problem that a lot of people might not know about when it comes to truck campers, RVs, trailers, etc. Now, before I get into the more hidden issue that some people out there might not know about, I want to quickly talk about some of the things that you can do to help mitigate the condensation and moisture buildup inside of your rig. These are pretty basic, rudimentary things that a lot of people probably already know, but if you don't, this is just a quick little refresher. Now, one of the most important things that you could do to help prevent condensation buildup in your rig is having adequate ventilation. So if you've got windows, crack them open, let that airflow get in. If you have things like a vent, make sure you're cracking that as well, especially when you're cooking. Speaking of cooking, it's worth noting that things like boiling water for pasta, boiling water for coffee, leaving soups on the stove to simmer, things like this that take extended periods of time are just releasing extra moisture into the air. So if at all possible, try to limit the amount of dishes that require boiling, simmering, just being on the stove for a longer period of time. I know that it's a little bit difficult to limit yourself in that way sometimes, but if you are trying to limit or minimize the amount of condensation buildup in your rig, that's something to keep in mind. And of course, if you have things like range hoods with a fan or any type of fan in your vents, it's a good idea to run those while you're cooking. Now, this is something that I only very recently started using, and it's just a little mini dehumidifier. And I haven't been using it long-term enough to honestly review whether or not it makes a huge world of a difference. But I will say that every time I have used it, I'm always surprised at the amount of water that it draws out from the air. I'll leave it running for an hour or two at a time, and when I go to empty the tank, there's like a decent amount of water in there. It's not, there's not really any downsides to using it. I could only see the potential positives when it comes to reducing the risk of mold and mildew and stuff. One last thing I'd like to quickly go over before we get into the more hidden problem with winter camping is heat sources. Now, there's all kinds of different heat sources out there available to heat up your winter camping setup these days, ranging from propane heaters, diesel heaters, wood burning stoves, electric blankets. I've even seen people get creative and use candles with flower pots over the top, and that's supposed to like radiate heat, and I don't know if that works. I do know it's probably not realistic for most people. And the most commonly found options are gonna be things like portable propane heaters, like a Mr. Buddy heater. That seems to be the most popular portable propane heater among the outdoor community these days. I know I personally used one of these for years, and they're great. They put out a ton of heat. They're super easy to find propane for. They're relatively cheap. They're great options, but one of the major issues with those types of heaters is they produce a lot of condensation. Since it's just heating the air within the space that you're in, it's not venting fresh air in, it's not venting air out, it leads to a lot of moisture buildup in your rig. Like if you leave that thing running overnight, you'll wake up with water dripping on you. It's definitely not the most moisture resistant way to heat up your setup. The next way is propane furnaces that are in a lot of these campers and trailers. And these are awesome. They're more or less mostly dry heat from my experience. They do vent outside, so you don't get nearly as much condensation buildup, but you do still get some. You do still get some around your windows, you get some around metal surfaces. So I don't think that it's a completely, totally dry heat. Now, the only dry heat sources that I've heard of, and I don't have experience with these, are diesel heaters and wood burning stoves. From what I've gathered, these are the only heat sources that will completely dry out the entire rig. Again, I don't have first-hand experience. This is just from what I've read online and conversations I've had with people. So those are the different heat sources. You might want to keep those in mind when you're thinking about how you want to approach your winter camping. I know I said that was the last point, but I do have one more point to make that I didn't think of earlier, and that is drying out gear. If you're winter camping, there's a good chance you're out there snowboarding, skiing, snowshoeing, whatever winter activity, you name it. All of these involve gear, and if you're out there in the snow getting after it, you're most likely gonna get wet clothing. And if you dry out your clothing or your gear inside of your rig with you, all of that moisture that is inside of your gear is gonna get released into the air. So that is another huge contributing factor to condensation and moisture buildup. So if you have something like this, a bathroom in your rig, this is the perfect place to throw all your wet gear, close the door. That way, you know, it's supposed to, these spaces are made to get wet, obviously. It's a bathroom, so you don't really have to worry about the moisture buildup in there. And that way, your gear isn't drying out inside of your living space and you're not raising the moisture levels in your living space as well. All right, so this is the more hidden problem with winter camping that some people out there might not necessarily think about. I know I didn't for quite a while before I discovered it, and then now that I have discovered it, I realize that this is actually a very important issue. And when you're in a truck camper or any other type of camper where you have a dedicated mattress, there's a good chance when you're out there winter camping that there's gonna be moisture buildup under your mattress. And the reason why is because your mattress is sitting on top of a cold surface, right? You're out there, it's freezing temperatures out, everything is basically cold to the touch, and your mattress is sitting on top of a cold surface. So when you go to bed to sleep, obviously your body radiates a good amount of heat. Most of that heat will get transferred down through the mattress, and the mattress warms up. And since the mattress is sitting on top of a cold surface, a lot of your body heat is basically creating condensation underneath the mattress. There's a good chance that once the moisture is down there, it's not drying out, even if you're coming out of the freezing temperatures, because without airflow under the mattress, there's no way that the moisture is gonna dry out. So what happens, and what has happened to me, is underneath the mattress, under there, on the actual mattress itself, on the platform, you start to get mold. And this is particularly nefarious because obviously if you're not really thinking about this, you're not gonna even know that you have an issue. I don't know about you guys, but before I discovered this issue, I wasn't going under and checking and lifting up my mattress regularly. You kind of just have your mattress there and you don't really think about it, you know? Until of course you go to like wash your bedding, and even then you're not really, at least for me, I don't like fully lift up my mattress and look underneath it when I'm taking my bedding off. I kind of just pull the sheet off, and when it's time to put it back on, I kind of just put it over. I'm not really looking underneath. So that's something that's a lesson that I definitely learned the hard way. And that is one of the biggest issues with winter camping. Because if you don't catch that soon enough, that little problem, that seemingly little problem, can turn into a major, major issue. Now, what I have in this box here is allegedly supposed to be the perfect solution to eliminate that problem. So what I've got in these boxes here is the Frawley sleep system. And this video is it's not sponsored by them. They're not paying me to make this video. But from all of the research that I did online, it seems like this is one of the, if not the best solution for the condensation buildup under your mattress issue that we've been talking about. And it actually has two purposes. The first is to create that ventilation underneath your mattress. It basically lifts it up into the air. And the second, and it supposedly makes your sleeping setup just a lot more comfortable. And I know a lot of folks get this for the comfort aspect, but if I'm being completely honest, my mattress in there, I've had no issues with comfortability. I just got it, again, just to have that defense against mold building up underneath my mattress. So let's go ahead and get this thing installed. It looks kind of bizarre, so this should be interesting. So real quickly, this is kind of what it's gonna look like when all is said and done. All right, before we hop into the camper and get this thing installed, I'm sure many of you, myself included, are curious to see exactly what comes in this package. So this right here is a little installation tool. So we got some of these guys here. These, I guess, look like they're the base plates. And then these, what are these? These are the spring element. That's kind of cool. These are tension clips, and it says optional in parentheses. I don't know what benefit they serve, but we're gonna find out together. Cool, so that's it. Kind of like adult Legos, right? So that seems to be how they operate. Okay, let's go get this set up. First things first, let's strip the bed, get all this area cleared out and ready to go. I have a bit of a confession to make to you guys while we're here. Yeah, I don't know how well you could tell in that footage, but I did have a little bit of mold growing underneath my mattress not too long ago, and I kind of just completely forgot that this is something you have to look out for. I hadn't done winter camping in an actual camper for a while, so it kind of just wasn't really at the forefront of my attention, which is why I'm making this video, because I did want to bring attention to this issue because it is one that is easy to overlook. But now that you've seen this and now that I'm making this video, we'll never not think about this again. Now, fortunately, the mold wasn't too bad when I saw it. I killed all of the mold. I used mold killer stuff, spray, so it's dead, it's not spreading or anything. But it was a close call. It was definitely a close call. To assemble it, you basically take the base plates, and we're gonna first lay out all of the base plates over the whole entire space. And then we're gonna lock those together, lock all the base plates together, and then we're gonna go in and put these on top. Sounds easy enough, right? Now it seems like there's a couple things to note about the base plates. If you could see that right there, that little triangle symbol, according to the instructions, you wanna make sure that those triangle symbols are all facing the same direction. And the other thing that the instructions notes is, if you'll notice, there's 3 different settings for how far apart you want the base plates. Apparently, the wider apart they are, the softer of a feel for the springs, and the closer they are together, the firmer the springs are gonna be. So I'm just gonna go for the middle. There's these little locking elements on 2 of the sides, and then 2 of the sides have the little notches where the locking elements actually secure and fasten into. I'm not fastening them down just yet. I think once I have it all laid out, then I'll go in with that little tool that I showed you earlier, and then I'll fasten them all together. So I've covered about a little bit less than 3/4 of the bed area, and I just ran out of the first box. So now I'll be moving on to the second box. Okay, and now I've got the installation tool that came with the kit. It looks quite simple. I think that you just press this end onto the clips and you press it down. Easy enough. As you can see, they're now all locked together and it's just one giant piece that I can move around. I'm just gonna move it a little bit, get it centered up here, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now we're just gonna go in with our actual spring elements, and in the center of each of the base elements, the little groove here fits into the notch perfectly, and you spin to lock it down. All right guys, what do you think? All finished up? It looks really cool. It looks kind of exciting and very high tech and advanced, but it's really quite simple. As you saw, it was a very easy installation process. Now all that's left to do is test it out. As you can see here, there's now a nice gap underneath the mattress to allow for air circulation. Oh, wow, that is, oh, that's dangerous. Your body just kind of sinks in to all of the heavy spots and it takes off any of the pressure that you would feel, and you really just conform into the mattress no matter where you're sleeping. All right, well, I guess all that's left to do is take a nap. There you have it, folks. That is the installation of the Frawley sleep system. Only time will tell if it does an adequate job at reducing the condensation and mold buildup underneath the mattress. My initial impression is that it's gonna do terrific at addressing that, and it's also really comfortable, so thumbs up so far. I do want to point out that this is just one way to approach this problem, which I believe is a hugely important issue when it comes to winter camping, and it's just something that can really go under the radar unless you have had the experience in the past, or unless you've talked to people who have had the experience. You're just not ever really gonna know until one day you pop up your mattress and there's just tons of mold and nasty stuff growing under there. And that's kind of why I made this video. I wanted to bring awareness to this topic so some of you guys out there might be saved the hardship in having to go through it yourself. But there's all kinds of different products out there. There's very basic mattress underlayments that you could put underneath. There's wooden slats for bed frames that I've seen people use. There's a lot of different options that are probably cheaper than the Frawley system. So if you guys need some ideas, just go on Google and, do some research and you'll figure out all kinds of different strategies. I went with this one because, well, to be honest, I actually got this sent to me for free, not from the company, but actually from another YouTube channel named Runaway Roses. They make truck camper content, trailers, trucks, all of that fun stuff. So if you guys are interested, you can go check them out. Huge shout out to them. Thank you for sending me this. As of now, I don't have a definitive opinion on the Frawley system. Obviously, until I use it more extensively, I'm not going to be able to share my honest thoughts and opinions. So stay tuned for that. Later, at some other point, I will make another video actually reviewing the unit. I think that just about does it for this one. Thank you guys like always for watching. You guys go out there, go on some adventures of your own. Live life. Beat the status quo. Y'all know the drill. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.